Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment question comes from Sneaky Alien. Oh, I do like that one. And this was in response to Roland S-50 completion for now, the restoration part 14 video I did in December 2023. I can't believe that I have been looking for a solution for my S-50 problems since then. Well, I'll let you into a little secret. I actually have solved the S-50 problem, but you won't see those videos until way into this year. So if you want to see them quicker, you know what you have to do. You have to become a member of the channel, and you have to so you can either do it one of two ways. You can either take out a YouTube membership, or you can take out a Patreon membership. So it's entirely up to you, but the actual publishing to YouTube, I know, is middle of the year based on the current publishing schedules. So anyway, back to the question. Sneaky Alien writes, my S-50 was doing this when I first put the Gotek drive in, and it turned out that the Gotek drive instructions has applied a ribbon cable for data the wrong way around. Once I changed it to the right way around, it stopped blowing fuses. Yeah, I mean, thanks for the feedback. I mean, I have looked at it, and you know, I've got more work to undertake. As I said, when I actually did this response in December, I had more work to do, but I've actually done more work. I did some work over Christmas, and I needed to try and get some additional parts, and I managed to source some additional parts for that work over Christmas. The problem with the S-50 is I had a grounding error. That was what was causing the problem, and I'm not gonna tell you how I solved it. Actually, you can watch the video. But I struggled. I really struggled to work out what the hell was going on, because I didn't understand why I had a grounding error, why things were blowing. But it came. I had a light bulb moment when I disconnected the earth from the power board, the board that drops the AC voltage from 34 volts coming off the transformer into plus or minus 15 volts, 5 volts and 6.2 volts that are needed to run the sampler. And as soon as I did that, all of a sudden everything stopped blowing until I then started plugging other stuff in where there were additional grounding points. So there's me thinking that it's actually the power board that was causing the problem, and actually it was a grounding problem. But as I say, there will be more videos on the Roland S-50 and how I've solved the problem. Next comment or question comes from Mohan Silva. I'm not sure it's Mohan's Hiva or Mohan's Shiva music. So it's either one of those two, but when you don't separate your name, it's very difficult to work out where the spacing is. Anyway, in response to how to configure aggregate inputs and outputs on your Mac, a video I did way back in 2026, January 2026. And Mohan writes, can we aggregate 4 channels of audio interface with another 2 channels of audio interface for 5.1 mixing, possibly without any latency? Well, the answer to this is, in theory, yes you can. But once aggregated, the aggregated device is then presented to your software by the Mac as a single audio interface. So therefore, you therefore have to, the interfaces have to work the same way in terms of things like latency and lag, which is what you've referred to there. You know, you can't have one audio interface that sort of says it's got a lag of 10 milliseconds, another audio interface that says it's got a maximum lag of 5 milliseconds. You're kind of automatically building in that the maximum lag is going to be 10 milliseconds, not 5 milliseconds, if that makes any sense. So you kind of have to start matching your audio inputs and your audio outputs to the interfaces you're aggregating, if that makes any sense. In terms of would it have lag on it? Again, it depends on the audio drivers that you're using for the interfaces that you're using, and whether they're native or specific, or there's a whole raft of, you know, when you're, my advice for a small studio is buy a audio interface that does what you're trying to achieve. So, I mean, I have quite often when I'm recording, I have aggregated inputs for things like the TR8, the TRB3, the Kronos, etc., etc. But in terms of the audio interface, I just use a single Scala interface. Okay, I'm not mixing the audio interface with other interfaces, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So, for argument's sake, if you've got an Apollo interface and a Scala interface, that while it will work, and there's no if, buts, or maybes, it will work, you might not get the best results out of it. That's probably what I'm trying to say here. The other issue, of course, is dynamic ranges. So different interfaces have different dynamic ranges and deal better with certain frequency ranges. That's just the same bloody thing, isn't it? But just be careful of that, and especially on a 5.1 implementation where you're kind of trying to do it in a special way, in a certain way, and yes, certain pieces of software. But if you've got two interfaces that you're trying to use, then if the interfaces are not working the same, again, it comes back to the same point I made a couple of minutes ago. So I'm just repeating myself at that point. But what I would say is buy the interface. Don't try, if you're trying to do 5.1 or 8.1 or whatever it happens to be across multiple interfaces, my advice would probably be don't. Buy an interface that does 5.1 and use that interface, because then you're just processing on a single interface.